Okay, guys, welcome back to the second segment of Indie Showcase Special Sunday Edition powered by The Shed. And yes, this is the second of two top-down shooters that we're taking a look at this weekend. This is Nowhere Station, developed by Other Side Worlds. And this is another top-down shooter, but it's quite a bit different, as you can see. It's more sci-fi based, and it's a roguelike top-down shooter, which they say has an innovative movement mechanic and insane robocults. Again, I have not touched this yet. I don't know what this innovative movement mechanic is. We're going to see. Other Side Worlds is an interesting company. This is their second game, but they have almost no social media presence, and I honestly was not able to find that much about this game. And as you can see, it's not been very popular, probably because it hasn't really been promoted that much, to be honest with you. But it looked interesting, which is why I wanted to grab it. So we're going to take a look at that. So this is $8 US, 9 Canadian, so that's pretty good conversion rate. This is PC only. This is not out on the consoles at all. So we're gonna see what this is about. But yeah, I am definitely curious about this one. Games like this that come out and don't get promoted a lot can be not getting promoted a lot because they're not very good, or they could be good and they just didn't get the promotion they deserve. And those are the kinds of games I really hope to showcase on this show. So we're gonna go check this guy out and see what we've got. Yeah, I'm curious about it. Came out about a month ago as I'm playing this, so another new Unity title. Oh, there's tons of them. Like, there is so much this is part of the reason we started up the developer relations program with The Shed, that is extremely overmixed audio. Also, it's running in 800 by 600, and apparently the highest I can set it to is 1080p resolution, which is a little strange. So yeah, the audio is incredibly overmixed out of the gate. So we're gonna turn that down. Yeah, capped at 1080 resolution. That's a little interesting. So okay. So I'm gonna start this one as well with keyboard and mouse, and we'll see what happens. I'm kind of liking the look of it so far. When the station dived into the nebula, many servitors were on maintenance, so they met great madness in switched-off state and preserved the clarity. English not their first language. When other machines were inventing their cults, servitors kept working on fixing the station. Soon they realized that fixing the situation requires more than just repairs. Take down war leaders to defeat their cults. Okay. So these are our items, and we have 5 difficulty levels, it looks like, which is kind of cool. So let's just go with normal here and see what we get. Wait, right mouse button for move? WASD for minor, F to interact. Wait. That would be styles. But the reason for that is it looks like you can only move from cover to cover. Like, you can only move to the walls. Also, the audio suddenly got really quiet. So I guess it's just the main menu theme that's overmixed. Okay, so this is a proper roguelike. It is randomly generated levels. Yeah, you can only slide between objects and cover. Like, see this? So when I press right mouse button, he flies towards whatever direction he's facing. And then grapples to whatever the first object is, whether it's a wall or a piece of cover or something like that. I'm also going to say as well, this game does not run very well. We're playing at only 1080, not 1440. And I don't know what frame rate this is, but it is not even close to 60. Also, I can barely hear the sound effects. The sound is cranked up full blast, and I can barely hear the sound effects. This is running... The game feels like it's stuck in slow motion. I don't know if that's intentional. I'm also nearly dead again. Okay, so this does not faff around even a little bit. Let's turn the graphics quality down a notch and see if that changes anything. So we're gonna start at the lowest difficulty. Okay, so running on high detail, which frankly doesn't really look much different, runs at a perfect 60. So that is good. However, I will say still that this game, it's not that this game looks bad. This game does not look anywhere near where it should have that kind of performance demand. And the game just crashed. Okay. Wait, okay, maybe it's not randomly generated levels, because this level looks like the first run we did. So maybe it's a randomly picked selection of levels? So yeah, this game doesn't look nearly good enough to require the level of performance it does. I'm on a 1080 Ti with on an overclock 6700K. This game, with the way it looks, should at ultra run at like a billion frames a second. Yes, I was. This game absolutely should not be having frame dips at any level of detail, especially when it locks you to 1080p. Also, this game runs in Unity. Why is it locked to 1080p? Like, Unity can do more than that. And this movement mechanic, while it sounds cool on paper, it feels like I don't have control of my character, especially when something like that happens. When I am trying to dodge out of the way of someone and I come right in someone's path and I can't change because I can't move between things. Hey, Jay Shards, how are you? Welcome to Indie Showcase. Well, normally it's Indie Showcase Saturday, but this is Indie Showcase Sunday because my internet was broken yesterday. So we're doing this today with the Shed. This is the second of 5 games we are showcasing today. This is Nowhere Station. I'm doing good. Doing quite well. We played God's Trigger before, which is a game that's like Hotline Miami if you set it in the Old West with demons and added a lot more mechanics to it. I actually really like that. This is Nowhere Station, which so far, I'm not so sure. This is a PC game. It is a roguelike sci-fi shooter, which claims to have a rather unique movement mechanic. It runs badly. It restricts you to 1080 resolution, even though I have a 1440p monitor. On the ultra detail, the game runs at about 20 frames a second. I'm on a 1080 Ti, and on high, it's running better, but it's still stuttering and slowing down substantially. The audio mix is all messed up, and I like the visual style, like this thing, like this text that's kind of got this floating in midair thing. I actually think that's a pretty cool idea. So the movement mechanic from this is very different. So you can't move freely. You can only shift from cover to cover. And it's not even cover to cover. It's from solid object to solid object. So you don't have free movement. What you do is you press the button, you press the right mouse button, and you go from whatever object you are up against, whether that's a wall or a piece of cover or whatever, to the next object. You cannot move freely. And this is a roguelite, so you have to do your run again when you die. And you're trying to destroy robo-cults, apparently. But you see, the movement mechanic right there, that's what I find frustrating about it, is because you can't see what's ahead of you, you will try to, like, move in a certain way to flee an enemy's shots, and then you'll end up finding out that you ran right in the path of an enemy you couldn't see who was off screen, and you get yourself wrecked. Yeah, it sounds cool in theory, but it doesn't feel like... I also just discovered it doesn't lock if you have multi-screen monitors. It doesn't lock to your primary screen, because I just closed Babel chat for paying attention to the DLive chat because it clicked out of my screen. So that bothered me when Metro did it. It bothers me when any game does that. The vast majority of gamers have dual monitor setups now. Well, okay, no, I should not say that. The vast majority do not. A lot of gamers have dual monitor setups. Your game should be smart enough to lock to your primary display. Or it at least should have a toggle option. Especially when the game requires very precise movements like this does. So the other thing is, as well, as you can see, is even when I'm against a piece of cover or something, I'm still sliding. And it looks like principally because I think there's inertia from your gun. This is just so imprecise, like, and I get that it's kind of the point. That I think the point is that that's supposed to be the challenge of this game, is that you're not, is that it's not precise. And that, like I said, that's supposed to be some of the challenge element. But, I don't know. I just don't know. This just feels very... like, it feels like it was a good idea in theory. Oh, and now the frame rate's tanked again, even though I'm at high settings only, at 1080. Wow. Yeah, I don't know about this one, guys. Keep in mind, that's on the lowest difficulty. Here, let's do this just for shiggles. Let's start it at full balls to the wall high difficulty. What's the worst that could happen, right? Still, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, still, could be worse. I mean, it's handing out a lot of repair options, so I guess there's that at least. Is it me, or does this not seem especially more difficult than the lowest difficulty was? Or have I just been very lucky so far? I don't know. So, by the way, your goal in this is to get to the exit of the level. I believe enemies in this spawn indefinitely. I don't think you can actually clean out a level. I think the challenge is that you're supposed to what did that say? Requires white key. I have to start a generator to get out of the level, which needs a key that I don't have. So yeah, I believe enemies spawn indefinitely, and the whole challenge is that you're surviving an endless swarm. I think that's the whole point. You can shoot down enemy fire, Sim, you're right. And that is kind of neat. That's clearly a key gameplay mechanic as well, is taking out the incoming fire as you deal with the trying to get around the other things. This music as well also sounds like it's from a royalty-free library. That's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of games use royalty-free music, and a lot of them do it very well. It's good high-energy music. You know, it's good for encouraging you to do. It's good for encouraging you to do stuff like this, right? Like it's good high-energy, sort of keeps you amped up. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I hope I don't get copyright claimed. Well, that's the thing, Sim, right? The fact that it restricts it's imposing limitations on you, and games that can do that and do it well are perfectly fine. Like, if you can impose limitations on a player and say, you know, this is how we're going to make this challenging, is by making it so that you know, you have this very limited movement mechanic, but the part of the way we're going to compensate for that is by making it so that you can shoot down enemy fire before it gets to you. That's pretty cool, but like, you can see how awkward it is just trying to even get around corners and stuff like that. And the fact that, like, if it doesn't go where you thought it was going to, you kind of get like, I'm caught around the edge of this door now, right? Or when you try to slide forward and you end up sliding into an enemy that was off screen that you couldn't see. You know, you really can't, because the key thing with roguelikes is that they have to be like a Souls game. They have to be fair. If they feel like they're not playing fair, that breaks the whole formula. Because a lot of gamers don't mind games that are super hard, as long as they feel like the world is like, especially that enemies are bound by the same limitations that they are, right? And that's clearly not the case here, because these enemies are, you know, these enemies can free move, whereas I can't. So this game is very difficult, and in a way I think some people may find quite compelling, because it is different. Like, I'm gonna give it that. You know, there's 1,000,001 roguelikes out there now, and a lot of them do things in a very similar way. This one is clearly breaking the mold substantially. This is very different. It reminds me of, there was actually, and it completely bombed. There was a 360 game that came out on Xbox Live Arcade a while back from Fifth Cell, and I forget the name of it, but it was a game. It was a competitive online shooter, and it was a cover shooter. But the thing is that you could only dive from cover to cover. You couldn't free move. All you could do is go, like, move between the cover, like the cover elements. And it was a really cool concept. It didn't really catch on, but it was a really cool concept. And this feels like it's got a little bit of that mojo in it. A little bit. But it just doesn't feel well implemented. It feels clunky. Like, just the fact, like this, like the fact that you can get caught behind corners, like, that's just not fun. Especially when enemies have, again, enemies don't have the restrictions that you do, right? It's enemies have free movement, you don't. And that's okay. Like, we played in last week's Indie Showcase, we played Overwhelm, which is a game that's literally Mega Man in reverse. It's where you beat bosses and the enemies get tougher, not you. Cool idea. But it made up for that inherent difficulty by having a rock-solid movement system. You know, really rock-solid precise movement, really rock-solid precise understanding. Like, you knew everything that was going on in that game, and you knew what was going to happen when you did certain things. You knew, it made it very clear how enemies evolved versus you. And this is just, everything in this is completely unclear. The fact that it runs like crap while not looking that great doesn't help either. Like, again, this is a Unity game. It's locking me to 1080p resolution, and on Ultra, on a 1080 Ti, it runs at like 20 frames a second. On high, it's fluctuating all over the place. And it does not look good enough to justify that. And keep in mind, this game is not in early access, by the way. This game is out. So this is not like a, hey, buy it in early access and help us tune it. No, this game is released. So and I'm potentially beginning to understand why it came out with not a lot of, with seemingly not a lot of hype behind it, or marketing hype behind it. So I need a white key to start this small generator. It would be nice if we could at least beat one level in this run, but I don't know. And like, the sound mix is all screwed up. Like, the music is really loud, but you can barely hear the sound effects, even though they're turned up full blast. But when we started the game, it was like, it was blowing, the music was like blowing my ears out. And honestly, it doesn't seem like there's much difference to the difficulties either. Like, I seem to be getting just about as far playing on the easiest as I am playing on the hardest. So I don't even know if the difficulties in this game have any balance to them whatsoever. I mean, also, it says here, still can't reach the boss. Soon you will be able. Balance gets better. Enemies start shooting through walls less. Keep trying. Next update, April 16th. I'm recording this on, what is it, April 27th or something like that? So, April 28th. So, it has, yeah, the update time has come and gone, and I don't know if the update's actually here. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we're done with this one, guys, if I'm honest with you. So, that is Nowhere Station. It has a cool concept. I can't recommend it right now. It runs badly. I think the control system is interesting. I also think it's not well implemented. And needs work. I think it's yeah, the audio's messed up. This is a game that clearly isn't finished, even though it is definitely out in early access. So yeah, it is $8 US, $9 Canadian. Maybe if they manage to get somewhere with it after a period of time, it could be worth revisiting. But unless this movement mechanic and stuff really is selling you in some way, I would not bother. There are a million other roguelikes out there that are better, in my humble opinion. So, well, you can't win them all, eh? So, all right, guys. So that is it for this segment. If you are watching on YouTube, please do the needful. Like, comment, subscribe, and share the video around. It does help it get noticed by more and more people. Post something in the comments about what you think might be better alternatives to this, if you have a good idea for top-down roguelikes. That might be helpful for people. So, but we got 3 more games today, people, so don't go anywhere. We will be back shortly. Indie Showcase Saturday, powered by The Shed, and by Saturday, I mean Sunday, rolls on. We will be right back.